Hands off, please. Are we okay? Fantastic, thank you, Kathy. Well, hello everyone and welcome. Welcome to our service today. Those of you who are here regularly and those who are visiting on this, it's a bank holiday weekend, isn't it? I've been away, so it's a bank holiday weekend. Yes, it rained yesterday, so it's a bank holiday weekend. Welcome to those online, those of us joining us online. I just want to remind us that we are a church and a movement that believes in freedom of thought and freedom of conscience. And we have no dogma. And we respect all those who come through our doors. We're a place of sanctuary. And didn't we see that during the Pride weekend? How inclusive we are. So I'd like us just to be grateful for that inclusivity. And I'd like to light our chalice candle as we start our service today, as is our custom in this church and all Unitarian churches everywhere. Our opening words are from the philosopher Albert Einstein. The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and all science. He or she to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer pause to wonder or stand wrapped in awe, is as good as dead. His or her eyes are closed. So our theme today is the mysterious, the mystery, the mystic traditions. For in these mystery traditions, we can see that there is so much more that unites us than divides us. And at this time of strife and othering, I invite us today to reflect on it all and look a little closer and a little deeper. And to start us off, I invite us to sing the chant, and I've got it wrong, so that's why I checked it. It's 223, not 233, 223 in your purple book. And I'm going to ask you to do something a little bit different. I know you've all settled in your chairs, but I invite you, have a little look at it. It's on 223 in your purple book. Come, come, whoever you are. It's by the poet and religious leader Jalaluddin Rumi, who we love here in this church. And you don't have to, by the way, get up and move. So please feel free. We do what we want in this church. So if you want to stay put, you can stay put. If you want to do this little ritual of going round the back and meeting and greeting the person who's coming from the other side, singing your chant and then returning to your seat, you're very welcome to do so. So there's no, you have to do it, or you don't have to do it. And we won't poke a finger at you if you don't do it. You don't have to memorize it. If you want the book with you, take the book with you. We can do what we want. That's the joy of this church. We can do what we want. It's great, isn't it? So, do you want to play it first, Kathy? So we know the tune, and then when you feel ready, get up and follow. I think Fanny's going to go that way, and Penny's going to go that way. And then greet each other at the back, however which way you want. Carry on singing the chant until you're back, and then we're off. Okay, thanks, Kathy. Well done. So here in this church, we're very drawn to the Sufi mystic Rumi for very good reasons, I hasten to add. If there is indeed a God, that God breaks through in every age and culture. And Rumi, alive in the 13th century, when there was cross-fertilization of faiths, was a bridge between them and beloved of all religious traditions. One of his sayings was, "There are 1,000 ways to kneel and kiss the ground." And his poetry has said it countless times over. This is one I find particularly beautiful. It's from the illuminated Rumi, translated by Coleman Barks, called Human Being, and Fanny is going to read it for us.
Not Christian or Jew or Muslim, not Hindu, Buddhist, Sufi or Zen. Not any religion or cultural system. I am not from the East or the West, not out of the ocean or up from the ground, not natural or ethereal, not composed of elements at all. I do not exist. I am not an entity in this world or the next, did not descend from Adam and Eve or any origin story. My place is the placeless, a trace of the traceless, neither body nor soul. I belong to the beloved. I have seen the two worlds as one, and that one call to and know. First, last, outer, inner, only that breath, breathing human being.
Thank you. That poem is a salutary reminder to us of the deeply mysterious nature of reality, yet a clear statement at the end that we are all just human beings, doing our best to make sense of it all. Those who smashed up houses and threw bricks and torched mosques the other day, torch those who they've othered, can only be reached, I believe, through the experience of knowing, really knowing that the other is only themselves reflected. And in hating themselves as they do, they hate those who they see as responsible for their unfulfilled lives. Lives, I believe, that are so clearly lacking in the numinous. So Rumi was a preacher before he was a poet and met the Sufi mystic Shams of Tabriz. And Shams was to introduce him to other ways of being in the world. And one of the first things he asked him to do was to put away his books, to stop reciting passages from the scriptures and find his own voice. He introduced him to the practice of sama, or deep listening. For Shams, sama was not scholarly texts, but music and poetry, which he saw as the means of arriving at mystical trance, revelation, and divine intoxication. Sama also came to mean the whirling dance. As Rumi would say, summer is the food of lovers. In summer, the dream of union is realized. The roof of the seventh heaven is high. Sam's ladder reaches far beyond it. And over the course of 2 years, Shams broke Rumi open, provoking jealousy among his devoted followers, who managed to chase Shams away from the village. And Rumi's poetry became his continuing conversation with Shams, an exploration of what it is to be together in God. And being apart from him triggered his longing for union after the pain of separation. And one day he finally realized that there was no longer a need to search for Shams. He was indeed within him. Rumi had embodied the friendship and making contact with his own inner essence that Sham had simply mirrored. And with that illumination, he began singing the spontaneous poetry of such beauty and perfection, and it's now loved and revered across the world. In this translation of Rumi's poetry by Halalisa Ghafouri entitled Gold, a word that recurs time and time again in his poetry, she suggests that Rumi's gold is not the precious metal, excuse me, but a feeling state arrived at through the alchemical process of burning through layers of self, greed, pettiness, calculation, and doctrine, all of it. And to sum up, the prayer of Sufism is to teach me to love more deeply. Gold is the deepest love. And he talks about love again and again in his poetry. And this is one of my favorites. In one of the poems, In the Whispers of the Beloved, he describes it like this. The heart is like a candle, longing to be lit. Torn from the beloved, it yearns to be whole again. But you have to bear the pain. You cannot learn about love. Love appears on the wings of grace. When Rumi died, he was mourned by Christians and Jews as well as Muslims and Buddhists. And while he was a learned follower of Islam and its mystical tradition of Sufism, his whole life was a witness to the boundless universality of the heart. So our second hymn, I think this is right, number 33 in the Green Book. Do you hear? Spirituality tells us that we must accept paradoxes. We will love everything or see it correctly. Most of the major traditions do not demand blind faith as much as they demand new eyes, a different light that allows, creates, and welcomes and appreciates the shadows. All three of the great major Asian religions, Hindu Vedanta, Mahayana Buddhism, and Chinese Taoism, build upon a worldview of non-duality and paradox. Lao Tzu, an older contemporary of Confucius, lived in the 6th century BC. And according to ancient legends, as he was riding off into the desert to die, sick at heart at the ways of men, he was persuaded to write down his teaching for posterity. The philosophy of the Tao is simple. Really simple, because it's a wisdom for living, a way of living, and a way of being. It teaches us to go with the flow, to let go of things that do not matter, and not to resist things that crop up in our lives. For what you resist persists. Here are two poems by Lao Tzu that I really appreciate. They're from my book, Tao Te Ching. Under heaven, all can see beauty as beauty only because there is ugliness. All can know good as good only because there is evil. Therefore, having and not having arise together. Difficult and easy complement each other. And this one. The highest good is like water. Water gives life to the 10,000 things and does not strive. It flows in places men reject, and so is like the Tao. In dwelling, be close to the land. In meditation, go deep in the hearts. In dealing with others, be gentle and kind. In speech, be true. In ruling, be just. In business, be competent. In action, watch the timing. No fight, no blame. I love it. Taoism resonates with nature in a way that many mystical traditions do too. The cycles of nature and rituals were part of a people's experience. And the Wiccan path was based on earth rather than the heavens, participating in the cycles of nature and the four elements of earth, air, fire, and water. Wicca is a mystery tradition, a tradition which, like other mystical traditions, creates the setting where people can access real connection with the divine without the intercession of a religious leader. Wiccans believe the deity is immanent, inherent in all people and in all things. The greatest cathedral and the smallest grain of sand, because there is a sacred force that infuses everything. And that was certainly the belief system, or is still the belief system, of the Native American Indians. Tuilanish is the keeper of the tradition of the Wolf Clan of the Seneca Nation, part of the great Iroquois Confederation of Nations. And it is through her teaching that the spiritual path of the Indian is made clear. She calls it entering the silence. The real Seneca feeling was to do with the mysteries of Mother Earth. And to learn about her secrets was to learn about oneself. Self-knowledge was the key. Self-understanding was the desire. Self-discipline was the way. Self-realization. They believed in the life force of the great mystery or great spirit. And the Indian was sure all existence could be affected by his or her own condition of wholeness, particularly by an attitude of acceptance towards the unknown. He did not attempt to control nature, but believed that if he learned to understand it, he could be nurtured by it. Both the traditions of the Tao and Native American traditions emphasize working with rather than controlling what is around us. That's really important for us in our ego-driven cultures. The Seneca believed that during silent communication, the physical body underwent stages of healing and upliftment. And being at peace with oneself and in harmony with the surroundings fortified each succeeding experience. And she wrote a book called The Language of the Trees. And I'll just have a little bit of a quote from it. I listen and hear the silence. I listen and taste the silence. I listen and see the silence. I listen and smell the silence. I listen and embrace the silence. And to enter into the silence, she recommends that one should use the same comfortable place each time, so that when one is away from this personal place, one can visualize it and capture the calm attention again. Living in harmony with the peace and quietude of nature taught the Seneca self-discipline. So precious is silence. But we're going to sing again. We're going to break the silence. So, Purple Book, number 32. Earth was given us again. Both ancient wisdom and modern science agree that we are connected to everything in creation by a universal field of energy. And this field of interconnected energy resonates within and between every particle of matter, every cell of our bodies, every vibrational sound within it. And when heart, mind, body, and spirit are in harmony, we are at one with ourselves and the world. Or as Rumi would say, we have fallen into the place where everything is music. And the human body itself is a field of vibration, and every cell in the body, it is said, sounds the Om. And everything that we know to be form or matter is that same vibration. And as human beings, our task is to understand and to restore that awareness of the multiplicity of creation. And if the human body is a singing field, every cell singing here basically means it is resonating with everything around itself that is also just singing. And if we can, as human beings, remember how to sing that awareness back into our bodies, then we are restoring equilibrium and unconditional, loving presence back into humanity. Chloe Goodchild quotes Rumi again in this poem. Out beyond ideas of right and wrongdoing, there is a singing field. I'll meet you there. So I don't know if you know this. Chloe Goodchild started the Naked Voice workshops. You probably know Fanny, don't you? Yeah. And so we're going to listen to the singing field, and you can sing with it. I mean, basically the chant is, out beyond ideas of right and wrongdoing, there is a singing field, I'll meet you there. Let's listen to it and sing if you want to, or just listen to it. And then I'll leave you a bit of silence. Then we'll have prayers and a bit of silence. So just to allow that to resonate within you. Is that okay, Pete? Are you okay with that now? Yeah. So just go within yourselves, allow yourselves to go into a space where you're receiving this singing field.
Beyond ideas of right and wrongdoing, there is no fear, a singing field. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you beyond the years of right and wrongdoing. There is no fear, I'm saying free. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Beyond my fears, of right and wrongdoing. There is no fear, I'm singing free. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there.
I was... Okay, is that it? Oh, it's just getting into the swing of it. Oof. Oh, I did enjoy that. So let's pray. May the spirit of life and love bless our gathering this morning. In this quiet moment, may each one of us find what we need. May the troubled find peace. May the downhearted find comfort. And as we look back over the past week, let us give thanks for those joys and pleasures we have known. Moments of friendship or reassurance and relief. Moments of creativity, of achievement and abundance. The times when we felt alive and awake. And let us bring to mind those who may need our prayers right now, holding them in the light. The people we love, and the places in our country where there is turmoil, hatred, and unrest. God of all, we give thanks for the gift of life itself, for the blessings of life, love, and friendship, for which we are all grateful. Amen. So let's sit for a while in that precious silence that we experienced earlier, and then Kathy will play some music to bring us back. Thank you, Kathy. Does anyone know Tim Freake's writing? Oh. So in his lovely book, The Mystery Experience, Tim Freke echoes so many spiritual teachers when he says, we need to put our ideas to one side for a while and focus on not knowing. And Socrates was honored as the wisest man in the ancient world because he knew nothing. And Lao Tzu, who we've already looked at according to Freke, explained that in the pursuit of learning, we come to know more and more. But if we want to awaken, he talks a lot about waking up, we need to know less and less until things simply are as they are. We need to let go of all our beliefs about life, which obscure the worldless reality of what is. In one of his poems, Walt Whitman announces, "It is time to explain myself. Let us stand up. What is known, I strip away. I launch all men and women forward with me into the unknown." And in his little handbook called Lucid Living, Freke, as he comes to the end of his philosophical treatise, discusses love and says, since time immemorial, wise men and women have been assuring us that love is the only solution to our problems. And they're right. Only love can heal the divisions between us, because love is the realization that we are one. When we assume we are just separate individuals, we act in our limited self-interest, regardless of the suffering we may cause others. The illusion of separateness leads to selfishness and suffering. But when we realize we are everyone and everything, we find ourselves intimately connected to everyone and everything. And when we know that all is one, we experience love without limits. And another modern poet, Kay Tempest, thinks along the same lines as Tim Freke. She too was inspired by the wisdom of those who've gone before. I've talked about Kay Tempest here before, but in the book that I talked to you about on connection, she has a passage about Carl Jung's seminal The Red Book. And she says that Jung explores at length the idea that a person is governed by two spirits, the spirit of the times and the spirit of the depths. And the spirit of the times is the day-to-day concerns people have with their work, their study, their goals. It's fine, we all have things that we have to do. The spirit of the depths is the ancient part of them, the part that responds to the invisible world, that speaks in symbols, is drawn to nature and wildness. The spirit of the depths sees the soul. Jung continues, he whose desire turns away from outer things reaches the place of the soul. He becomes a fool through his endless desire and forgets the way of his soul, never to find her again. He will run after all things and will seize hold of them, but he will not find his soul, since he would find her only in himself. And of course, with this realization, it's inevitable that Jung and Freud fell out with each other. But Kay Tempest thinks the internet, I love this little bit of her awareness, the internet seems to be the ultimate expression of the spirit of the times, although we are connecting with people via technology. So there are good things about the spirit of the times, I have to say. But we are beginning to see the potential harm it can do. And the spirit of the depth speaks through poetry and music, fiction, image, and myth. It's offline, underneath, reached through creative ritual and abandonment to something wild. And culturally, this is where the ancient mystics can help us redress the imbalance, because we've allowed the scales to shift dramatically. We're cut off from our deepest natures. We've turned our back on the spirit of the depths, and we live entirely in the spirit of the times. So in order to regain our balance, we need to remaster the ability to go deep, to turn away from outer things, to face what is in ourselves. And this starts with connection and creativity and worship. So last but not least, into this vision and the challenge posed by Jung steps Jesus. The main man. Look at him with his little children. with his teachings, which in essence are moving from mere belief systems or belonging to active inner experience. Now, I'm not talking about the Trinity Jesus of the Church of England or the dogmatic Jesus of the evangelical Christians. I ain't talking about that Jesus. I'm talking about the Jesus who taught what has been coined the way and followed by his early disciples. And there's a reason many of Jesus' gospel teachings seem difficult to grasp, as we no longer have the code for understanding his parables, other than literally. For example, the man coming at the last hour receives the same pay as the one who worked all day. We can't get our heads around that concept, can we? But the Desert Fathers held on to his teaching through early monasticism and passed it down through Celtic spirituality. And since then, a clear line of saints, monks, mystics, and recluses have held on to its wisdom, often, as we know, at great cost to themselves. The Enlightenment put the final nail in the coffin of this tradition until a miracle happened, a miracle in Nag Hammadi in 1945. A collection of gospels written by those who had received his teachings directly or passed down were discovered in the above place in the Middle East. They were deemed heretical at the time by the papal authorities, and they'd been hidden by the monks who were carrying this tradition of non-dual thinking, which Jesus espoused. And his teaching focused on the idea of knowing, gnosis, through our heart and our, what was called the nous, the instincts, the heart-mind, rather than just the knowledge of the mind, particularly our logical mind. And Jean-Yves Leloup, a Frenchman who translated the Gospel of Thomas, which was one of the Gospels that were found, there were lots of different Gospels found at Nag Hammadi, says, there is a relative consciousness acquired through reading and the thoughts of others, but also a consciousness within that derives from the knowledge of ourselves as the living one within us. And Rumi mentioned that before, didn't he, about Shams being inside. So it's kind of the same things that they're saying. Whatever we want to call it, Gnosticism, esotericism, mysticism, spiritual work has to do with energy rather than solely what we call thought. And the Gospel of Thomas contains no biography of Jesus. He's called Yeshua in Aramaic, and there's no account of his miracles. It's a collection of loggia, little koans, the naked words attributed to the master, the living Jesus written down. And many of the loggia seem as enigmatic as a Zen koan, but over time, they will sprout like living seeds, growing to bring about a transformation of consciousness, because that's what Jesus was about. And this non-dual Gnostic gospel seeks to awaken us to our own state of consciousness. Like the Eastern sages, Jesus speaks in paradoxical aphorisms. For example, in Luke 9, verse 24, he says, we need to lose ourselves to find ourselves. And in Logion 67, he says, those who know the all yet do not know themselves are deprived of everything. Or Logion 70, Yeshua said, when you bring forth that which is within you, then that will save you. If you do not, then that will kill you. And I seem to remember when we had Grace by Kay Tempest here once, I don't know if you were here, she mentions that. There's a little line in that poem that she mentions, which I think is amazing, because she's obviously read the Gospel of Thomas, Kay Tempest. So he's referring here, of course, to love and gnosis. And the next Logion, Logion 2, says, whoever searches must continue to search until they find. And when they find, they will be disturbed. And being disturbed, they will marvel and will reign over all. This describes the major stages in gnosis, which are made up of an initiatory process, a search leading finally to an awakening. And this awakening, if we can continue the journey, transforms our experience into a state of wonder. And the Greek philosophical tradition saw wonder as the beginning of wisdom. Back to Einstein. He remarked that only idiots are incapable of wonder. Idiots might be those who abandoned their quest before finding, or never had an inkling there was anything to seek. Wonder is a prerequisite for entering the mystery of that which reigns over all. And if you've ever been in the company of a small child, and we are today, we have an amazing gift. When I did a service in Ditchling, again, I was talking about something, and then there was a child there as well. It's really weird how they turn up when they're required in a magical way, a magical way. Their capacity for joy and wonder is boundless, absolutely boundless. Their ability to feel despair is also palpable. But in a park, I had my 4-year-old grandson with me the other day, and we wandered off to Hove Museum, which was shut. I thought it would be open during the holidays. It was shut. So we went across to the park opposite, and after having I can't remember what he had, an ice cream or something, we went into this walkway, a walkway with beautiful trees and plants and flowers of all shapes and sizes. And it was completely still. There was nobody there. There was silence and stillness, apart from the odd canine which would walk by, and he'd sort of say hello to the dog. And his little body was dwarfed by all these plants, absolutely dwarfed. But he got up close to them and looked at them, and at one point he picked a flower. I did give him permission because there were so many and there wasn't anyone around anyway. And we looked at it together, and it had a little flowers, little petals that were separate flowers, little separate flowers. And he took it, and then he did that. He twisted it instinctively, and of course it whirled round. So the petals became one. And it just was magical. And I said, oh, look, all those separate little flowers, they've all become one. Isn't that magical? Yeah, he goes, yes, Grandma. And we stood and we watched in wonder. It was, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It's a lovely word, that, isn't it? Wonderful, full of wonder. So our final hymn, which is we're approaching our time together. We're coming towards the end of our time together. So we're going to sing number 102 in the Purple Book. May the road rise within you. May the road rise. May the road. Shall we sing this twice? Rise with you, may the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine on your face. May the rain be soft upon your feet. Until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of His hand. May the road rise with you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm on your face. May the rain fall soft upon your feet. Until we meet again, may God hold you in the hollow of His hand. So we're coming to the end of our service and our time together. And with so much fake news and misinformation about religion and mischievous social media posts, I'm minded to end with a deep belief, a deep, deep belief that we have more in common than that which divides us. For example, early Christians called the radical shift away from judgment contemplation, Buddhists meditation, Sufis ecstasy, Hasidic Judaism living with the divine spark within, Vedantic Hinduism non-dual knowing or simply breathing, Native American religions and Wicca find it in communion with nature. And here in this church, we're blessed with a richness of diversity and inclusivity. And in our heart and soul gatherings, we have a ritual which we end with. So I'd like to end with that. It's a poem by Erica Hewitt called The Hand in Yours. The hand in yours, yeah, you can do this if you like. The heart and soulers do this as we leave each other, when we share together. So precious. The hand in yours belongs to a person whose heart is sometimes tender, whose skin is sometimes thin, whose eyes sometimes fill with tears, and whose laughter is a beautiful sound. The hand that you hold belongs to a person who is seeking wholeness and trusts that you are doing the same. As you leave this sanctuary, may your hearts remain open, may your voices stay strong, and may your hands remain outstretched. And may the peace of God, which passes all understanding, be with you and those you love, now and always. Amen.
want to break the spell of the service or the music. Susie, thank you for leading our spiritual journeying this morning. A service full of beauty, light, and much wisdom. So quite a few notices, so I'll rattle through. Please, if you can, donate to the church, cash or card. We'll put the card machine up there in a bowl after the service. Wednesday at 12:15, music and reflection as normal. Thursday, we do have an online heart and soul meeting at 7:30 till 8:30. Still no Friday lunchtime concert as it's still August. I beg your pardon? Oh, I should know that. Right. Thank you, Jeanette. Yeah, heart and soul on Wednesday evenings. Oh, duh. Stuart is doing upcycling of cards now. So if you have any unwanted cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards, whatever, please bring the picture bit for Stuart, and you can leave it in the office for his attention, and he'll make some cards which we sell in aid of and raise funds for the church. The tea and Fanny's gone out to make our tea and coffee. Thank you, Fanny. We do need a volunteer to make the tea and coffee for next Sunday and the following Sunday. So please see Simon afterwards if you can help. Heritage Open Days. Now, this is part of the national scheme where in September public buildings open to the public, and we're going to be part of that this year. So we're open for 4 particular days in September, and we do need volunteers to come and help just be here and welcome any visitors. So the most important one is Sunday the 15th of September from 12:30 till 3 p.m. If you feel you can volunteer, please again see Simon afterwards. Yep, he's keeping the list. There also, we could do with another volunteer or two on Friday the 6th and Friday the 13th in the afternoon. What I'll do is I'll leave this list again on the table to check the dates, and please speak to Simon if you can help. And Kathy, thank you so much for your beautiful playing. It's wonderful as ever. And Pete, for stepping in and looking after all the tech. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this is lastly. Those of you who came to the conversation we had about Jennifer's ordination service on the Saturday the 21st of September, put it in your diary if you haven't already. There's a short list of hymns for the service, and you're invited to tick your favourite 2, and the majority by democracy will win, and those will be in the service. So something else for the table. 2 ticks. You mustn't cheat, and they're all our favourites. So lovely, it'll be great. So please, unless there's anything else, anyone else has? Oh, Tricia. Next Sunday. Not Sunday, the 8th of September? Right, so that's 2 weeks' time, yeah. So again, if you want to help Trish and her team, please stay behind after the service and help, is it? Yeah, make cards. Yeah? And next Sunday is a congregational service led by Brian. Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks. Please stay for tea and coffee. Whew.